Hello. So now that we have our contact positions all done, including the turnaround and the standing pose and the sitting pose, now we can work on doing the passing positions. So since we went through took the time to adjust our timing for the contacts, so we know that they're all 12 frames apart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. The passing positions are going to be halfway between those. So every 6 frames after one of the keys we have, we'll have a passing position. So let's start from here and work our way forward, but we'll also need a passing pose on this first step as well. First, let's get one that we can sufficiently copy forward though. Starting with here from the contact pose, the passing pose is again going to be all about staying in balance. The contact positions are really the foundation of the walk, so that's why we really want to make sure that everything was correct with them first. So from here we can go forward 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and this will be where our first passing position will be at. A few things will happen in the passing pose. The front foot will go flat because that'll be the foot that we're actually standing on. So we can take off the heel and toe lift of that foot, and we can start pulling everything forward so the character again progresses. Now this foot won't be staying on the ground, it'll be lifting up. And let's check this in our orthographic side view to get a better view of this. So this foot, see, won't be actually on the ground. It'll be picked up. And since it's not on the ground, we won't be using lift heel. Lift heel is really reserved for when the foot is actually on the ground. We do want to establish some kind of drag, some roll in this foot so that it establishes some kind of arc when it's moving. And to do that, I'm going to use toe tip. And I'm using toe tip for a few reasons. Yes, you can get a very similar pose using other channels such as heel or using rotate X. However, I would suggest using toe tip because nowhere else in the walk do you really use rotate X. So while it's not necessarily incorrect, you will end up with more curves to edit. And I'm not going to use heel because I want to have more control over where the actual toe is. If I end up using the heel control, it's going to rotate from the heel, which means I have control over where the heel is, but it's going to be hard to prevent things like interpenetration. But if I'm using toe tip, it's pivoting from the toe, so it's going to control where this is at. I'll always be able to see where that is going to be. And then likewise, use a little bit of toe lift to get some actual drag in the foot. And get it put a little bit forward from this other leg. That's why it's called the passing position, because it's just passing by the other leg. Okay, so working our way up some now. Because this is halfway between the two contact positions, where you had your rotate Y in one extreme and then rotate Y at the other extreme, this rotate Y is going to be halfway between that. So for instance, if we had 25 on one contact and negative 25 on the next one, halfway between that is going to be 0. That means there is no rotate Y on the passing pose because this leg is right beside the other leg and it's not being pulled or driven in any way in the rotate Y. It's very just parallel. And the same thing will be happening in the upper body. The hands will be roughly by the side, and again, if we have negative 10 on one contact and positive 10 on the next contact, the midway point between that will be 0. So we can zero out all of our rotate Ys on the entire trunk of the body, everything from the cog on up to the neck if you have rotations on the neck. And if you want to make sure that that's correct, you can check your front orthographic view. And again, you can see that the head is facing straight, just like we had for the contact positions. That's exactly what we need here. So now that we have the rotation Y all zeroed out, other things we're going to have to be taken into account. First off, we want to get the character in balance. First, we want to try to do it in the side view. You can see he was a little bit far back. What we're aiming for is to have him balanced right around the ball of his foot. So right around here where the front of his leg, where the leg meets the foot, the cuff right there, that's pretty much where you're going to want the actual body to be in balance over. If he's too far back, he's going to feel off balance. And if he's too far forward, while it's possible to get a walk like this, it is going to make things a bit difficult for the up position, and it's going to push all of your other poses forward as well. So, for the sake of balance, let's aim for somewhere around the actual ball of the foot. A little bit more forward than the actual heel. And again, we want this leg to be straight without being actually locked out. So with that done, now we can go and check the ortho front view again. And you can see we have definitely a big issue here. Since this foot is off of the ground and lifted up, his character would fall over. He just topple like this. So because he lifted his foot up, he's also going to have to shift his weight over to the side to compensate for that. And that's going to be your translate X. This goes back to what we were saying in the contact positions. Having the feet equal distance from 0 will make it a lot easier doing your passing poses, is for this reason. So now that you know that 0 is in the middle, when I put this passing pose in, I could just choose a whole number and say -4 in this case, and get him standing over this foot in your front view. And when I go into my next passing pose, I'll know it's going to be just the opposite of that. So this, I can bring this foot in a little bit, maybe bring that knee in, get the arms a little bit closer, and we still have one more issue. Again, remember that the legs are always affecting the hips. So if all the weight is on this leg right now, it's going to cause your hips to move and rotate Z now. So rotate Y is 0 on the passing pose, but now we're going to start focusing on the rotate Z. Now for most walks, this is going to actually drop a little bit because again, all the weight's going on this side of the leg. So this one with no weight on it is going to just droop a little bit. It is possible to do the opposite, where this hip gets raised up if this walk is very energetic, very angry or something. And that's fine as long as it's consistent throughout the rest of the walk. And since we have the cog, check the rotate Z. Again, let's make it a whole number just to make it easier on ourselves. And we're going to do the same thing with the upper body. It's going to go counter that. So let's push it some over here. Just get it like a nice line of action in the upper body. So we're doing it. Again, make a whole number out of this. So the cog is going to negative numbers, upper body is going to go in positive, and then again we want the head to stay straight. And since we have been using whole numbers, I know that to make this straight, all I need is a whole number as well. I can see the 12 or 13. Let's see. I think 13 looks a little bit better. So now in the front ortho view, you can see there's a line of action. He's shifting his weight over on the leg he's standing on. Now we just kind of tweak out the hand positions, the arm positions. Arm's going to be roughly by the character's side. And I don't want to sweat the arm positions too much because even once you get into plateau and you're really starting to fine-tune your arm positions, you'll be doing that up until the very last minute. So I just need them to get roughly in the place that they are. Then we'll move up to my shoulders here. And for right now, I can just zero those out. Because again, they're just passing by, they're very even and whatnot. So for right now, I can just zero them out. and save the actual more pushing till I get into the next contact pose. So there we have a passing position and balance in the front view. Again, you can check it in the ortho side view to make sure he's balanced over this leg. Make sure the leg he's standing on is straight without being locked out, and his head is facing forward. And then we can hit our key button. So now we can see coming from this contact to a passing. Now going into our next passing pose. Just like before, we can use some of the values from the previous passing because it's just going to be opposite comparatively. So I'm going to again go forward 6. And I can just get the rough pose. Know that this foot that he's standing on is going to be flat. This foot is going to be in the air and won't have lift heel. It'll have toe tip and toe lift. And of course, cog and hands will be moved forward. So we have a rough position. We could just go ahead and key this and then go back to our previous passing position. And I'm going to middle mouse back forward again, just so it doesn't update and we keep this pose, because we'll be taking some values and basically just reversing them. So the cog again is 0, but since on the next passing pose he's going to be lifting the opposite leg, we're going to change this rotate Z from -7 to, much like we did in the contact positions, we're going to change it to a +7. And also, because he'll be shifting over onto the other leg, we can change this -4 into a +4. And then work our way up the cog. So now instead of +7, this will become a -7. And the same for the remaining 2 parts of the upper body. And the neck will come from negative and turn to positive. So we have those values keyed. So now what we can do to make sure that they're going to stay the same, make sure we select each of those and make sure that the rotate Z is keyed, as well as that translate X that we changed. Now again, this is looking at the previous pose because we didn't update, so I'm going to have to scroll off of there a little bit and then come back to it. And now you can see that for the most part, a lot of our passing pose has been done. Just need to tweak it out some. Again, we'll need to take off the rotate Y. So we just need to fix the arms. Make sure they're not locking out, but they're actually by the character's side. Again, we'll make sure the shoulders are going to be the same as before. And we want to make sure that the character is going to be in balance. And that this foot is going to go right past the other leg. So he's a little bit far back, so we can pull him a little bit forward here. And then from there we can, again, rekey the entire pose. So now we can kind of flip through the poses we do have. Oh, and it seems like I missed my keyframe there. But again, that's simple enough. If I know that this is the key we want, I just keyed everything on this pose, that's fine. Just make sure that it's in the right position. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We want everything to be on 80, so I can take this pose that I know is correct and middle mouse back to 80, rekey it, then hit my select all button and delete the unnecessary pose. So here we have contact, passing, contact, passing. Now, if these are exactly what we need, we can middle mouse copy the other poses forward, similarly to what we did with the contact positions. So I know on my next passing pose, it's really going to be a mirror of this one. It's going to be the exact same, just further down. So what I'm going to do is, again, find where my next passing is going to be, at 92, and it's going to be where he's standing on the red foot. So I'm going to take this pose, middle mouse down to frame 92, and I'm going to key it. Obviously, we want everything from this passing pose except for the translate Z. So while I'm still here on this pose, I'm going to select both of the arms and the cog and both the feet. And here in my graph editor, I can manually select the translate Z's for each of these controls. So translate Z, then control select translate Z, and this will be control select or Apple command select, so that it grabs each of these translate Z's individually. And then we could just select this in the graph editor and delete them. So now you can see this is what suddenly jumps forward now, is that everything else we need is there, but the translate Z is gone. So with that in mind, we can deselect the foot that's going to be staying in place and pull everything else forward as we need to. So the hips are going to be a little bit further forward, and we're going to pull this foot a little bit forward, and again try to get the arms close to the character's sides. And that's all there is for the passing poses. Thanks for watching.